Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you would please stand with me as I'll have our county chaplain pray for us. Thank you.
Lord, thank you for this beautiful sunshine morning, Lord. Cool breeze. We know that winter's coming, Lord, but we relish these cool mornings, Lord, and the beautiful sunshine. Thank you for letting us live in this place that we call home, Lord. I pray that you bless this time together. I pray that you give all of us wisdom and discernment on what we need to do as individuals to better our nation, better our county and our state. Bless this time together. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
If you would, please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Hart, would you lead us, sir?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Now call the meeting to order. Our first order of business is the approval of our minutes from our previous meeting, of which the commissioners received a digital copy. If I hear no corrections or motions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I move that the minutes be approved as presented.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. And I will mention Commissioner Eglinger is on his way. He has a tree down in his road. He sent me a photo, so should be joining us here shortly. But for today, the president has no report. All of my items will be covered on the agenda and/or will be in my meetings next week. So, Commissioner Hott, did you have a report today, sir?
Yeah, the only meeting I attended was the Central Hampshire PSD, and mainly what we discussed or was brought to us there was the Perkinsville Water Extension Phase 1 and 2, and it's mainly completed. The tank is ready to receive water, and once the booster station has been started up, they got to put fencing around the tank and so forth, but it should be done within the next week or so. The Slanesville Water Extension has been, the contractor has obtained all substantial completion recommendations, and so that should be, well, we're actually ready to do the water there at Slanesville. The problem now is the school system is not, they're not ready to open up yet. And the other thing is the sewer system improvements at Frenchburg. We're in the process of, I think October the 11th, we're going to receive bids for that project. Other than that, that was about all that was presented at the meeting. And we, and as far as for me, I don't have any other meetings that I attended.
We have a few minutes here. Mr. Clerk, do we have any items we can attend to?
Yeah, we do. You're aware we've discussed the furnace situation and concerns we have. We've done some review and some talking to different people. One opinion came back that they could replace all of our radiators for $220,000. Kenny wasn't satisfied with that at all, and neither were the rest. So he did some more digging, and Rural Air did some very good research for us and found and has made an offer to replace 20. They found the motor, and they can replace them for $6,800. And we're thinking that'll carry us, at least 2-3 years to keep it running. So I present that, and it's below a bid requirement, but we've talked to several people, and that's far and away the best option. You see, the Royal Air's been very, very good for us.
And when do they propose starting on this?
Soon to get them approved and they. We have at least 20 fans that are bad.
Did we get any grant funding with this at all?
No, yet.
Okay.
No, not with this.
Okay.
This is for 20 motors. This is for 10 motors.
Yeah, it starts down here.
Okay.
He gave us a lower option, but I know we can.
And how long, after when they get started, how long is it gonna take them?
He thought a few days. He didn't feel it would be a lot of time. He thought he could do it in an hour easy.
Did Mr. Hod look at any of this? Matthew, the clerk?
This would be separate from our courthouse improvement. This is just a, okay.
No, this is granted a pass, but it's we think very effective. Good morning,
So, well, at least get me through the winter.
sir. Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure, Brian.
This is a presentation for redoing the motors of the radiators. Well below the bid amount, but a concession to replacing everything. So Royal Air believes they can replace 20 of the motors, and that will buy the system.
The motors are very much obsolete. He was able to find them in somebody's stock. Did a lot. I mean, he said he had 8 hours in the search.
Wow. I don't see any problem with it, gentlemen. It beats $250,000, especially Royal Air's became a pretty well trusted contractor. They do a good job.
Mr. President, I move we go ahead and enter into a contract with Royal Air concerning the motors for the replacing the,
Radiator motor.
okay. For the coal furnace, replacing the motors for the coal furnace.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second to approve the bid as presented for $6,800 for Royal Air, $6,813 for Royal Air to replace 20 radiator motors in the courthouse. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed, unanimous. So we have a bid for our coal vendor to vend coal for the courthouse.
Yeah, and we do this, I mean, we've been doing this for forever, so I move that we go ahead and enter into bid with Friend Products to purchase the coal for the upcoming season at $190 per ton. Of course, since I've been here, that's went up a lot.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the contract as presented by Friend Products to supply coal for the courthouse. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. Commissioner Eglinger, did you have a report today, sir?
I do have a brief report, and I apologize for the interruption. There was a tree completely across our road this morning. I sent Commissioner Cannon a picture so you'd know I wasn't feeding you a line of bull. So.
No, I told everybody.
So I didn't choose to be late, but wasn't much that we could do about that. But yeah, I will go ahead and several things are going to be, looks like, covered in the agenda there, but Hampshire County Committee on Aging, I attended that meeting since we met last, and they continue to be solid on everything financially and reach their goals, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but they are having their 50th anniversary celebration. That's on, I believe, October 23rd, noon to 3, down here in Romney. Also met with Parks and Rec since we last met. Well, basically on a subcommittee for them, and that's for the fundraiser they want to do to continue working on the Cape and Bridge building down there. That's mostly for the gym, the cafeteria, or the dining hall, they call it now, and kitchen. So that committee's met twice in the last month, and I am on that committee. They're currently setting some parameters for what they can think they can do, and what they want to bring to the attention to the public, and how they want to go about doing that. So they are working on that. So there's some other general things, gentlemen, but it looks like the agenda is going to cover it, so I won't double us up on reporting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, we have a couple minutes. Mr. Clerk.
Chief Tax Deputy Jackie Wolford asked to have you all approve proceedings to stop payment on check number 766 or 7,066 to David G. For $1.50. This is something that was in the system and hung up. G's been dead for quite a while. The state settled for $1.50.
And also, we've got the executors authorizing the stop payment, so I'll go ahead and move that we stop payment on this check to Colonel G.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the request as presented by the Chief Tax Deputy for stop payment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed.
You may recall sometime back that we had a request from the sheriff and the treasurer to review a lot of checks that had never been cashed. And so we went through the process, contacting the people they were issued to. Some were reissued, some were not. Those that were not, the county is to turn over to the state treasurer's office, and so she needs approval to do that. Again, we didn't see any windfall type of checks.
The 10th. For Lucas.
I'll be there.
It's, I think it's a phone call thing.
Mr. President, I'll move that the list of checks to approve and allow the commissioners to sign listings to be turned over to the West Virginia State Treasurer's Office for unclaimed property, since these outstanding checks are all 1+ year old per state code 36-8.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the document as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed.
Did Brian see this?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we've already approved. I just
Oh,
wanted to see
okay.
it.
That's for the health department. Right. That was the health department.
Last page, Eric. This one here. We have Tina Ladd representing the CBB regarding annual report. How are you, Tina?
I'm good. How are you all?
Good.
Welcome. No, the top is the annual report. That's our visitor guide. I brought a visitor. I couldn't remember if I've brought those
Thank you.
before or not. I don't think so.
Looks great.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to present the Hampshire County Convention and Visitors Bureau Annual Report. This year, our earned media coverage has continued to expand our reach, highlighting the natural beauty and unique experiences Hampshire County has to offer. We are particularly proud of being featured in West Virginia Living Magazine and in Blue Ridge Country Magazine, both which highlighted our farm crawl of 2023. They just ran those articles this summer, though. Additionally, the Hampshire Review published 8 articles spotlighting key initiatives that were sponsored by the CVB, including the Hampshire County Farm Crawl, the Potomac Highlands Sportsman and Outdoor Show, and also the U.S. Capitol Christmas Tree Visit. These events have helped further raise awareness of Hampshire County as a destination for both tourists and locals. I'm also happy to share that tourism in our county is growing. Over the past 2 years, lodging tax collections have increased by nearly 41%, and since fiscal year 2021, we've seen an impressive 104% rise. For the first 3 months of this fiscal year, lodging tax collections are up by 37.2% compared to the same period last year. This early success is a strong indicator that Hampshire County is on track for continued growth. Our commitment to enhancing our digital presence has also produced impressive results, and these numbers have actually changed since that was printed a couple months ago. Across our social media platforms, we now engage with over 10,524 followers on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our email list has grown to 6,117 subscribers, providing a direct line to share Hampshire County's best attractions and events. Educational initiatives remain central to our mission. This year, we participated in programs such as STS Marketing College, WVHTA's Hospitality University, the Governor's Conference on Tourism, and we were pleased to participate and host the Appalachian Forest National Heritage Area Tourism Summit right here in Romney at the Schools for the West Virginia Deaf and the Blind. I was also honored to be invited as a speaker at the 2024 West Virginia Small Farm Conference. Signature events like the Hampshire County Farm Crawl and the Potomac Highlands Sportsman and Outdoor Show continue to bring in a wide range of visitors and highlight Hampshire County's appeal as a destination or authentic local experiences. In summary, we are making great strides in elevating Hampshire County's profile as a destination, and we look forward to building on our momentum in the coming year. And then I have little notes I made already. I just want to add, when I'm mentioning the Hampshire County Farm Crawl and the Sportsman Show, those are events that the CVB does. In addition to those events, there are at least 20 other events happening throughout the year in Hampshire County. So all of those events combined are attracting visitors to the county. It just happens that our shows are the only ones that are focusing on ag and hunting. I also wanted to mention, just to anyone who may be listening, to remind them how we're funded. The lodging tax is collected from visitors, so it's not local taxpayer money going into any of these efforts unless a Hampshire County resident is staying in a hotel, motel, or renting a short-term rental. Otherwise, it's all folks coming to the county, so that money keeps us going, and then the extra funds are going back into the budget here for the county, for our citizens, helping keep taxes down, all that good stuff. And finally, I want to remind everyone, we had our third farm crawl this past summer. The first year, I believe, was when the bad storm and the tornadoes hit right before the first farm crawl. Second farm crawl was just hot. Last year, we were dealing with the drought, so we were crunchy. We had planned on doing a hay decorating show. We decided that, that just wasn't, people were starting to feed hay, like we couldn't waste hay doing any kind of hay bale decorating, so that was postponed. Some of the farmers said, is there any chance we can do this in the fall when maybe we'd have good weather and wouldn't be, affected by this drastic heat? So that's how the fall crawl was. They were like, can we do a fall crawl? I said, yep, and that's what it's going to be called. So that's what's coming up this weekend, Saturday, October 12th. I invite everybody to come, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then they're having a supper break. Some of them are going then 5 to 8 p.m. And I'm very proud of this because we're adding even more events and businesses. So we have a few less farms participating. There's another a homesteading event that some of our farmers are participating in Front Royal this weekend. But we still have, I think, around 20 to 25 farm-related businesses participating. We have 2 big community events. The Grassy Lick Kirby Community Center is holding their autumn festival this weekend, actually 3. Farmhouse Studio is having artisans on the lawn with 30 artisans there. Slanesville Rotan is making apple butter. They are all on board. We're promoting them. They're part of the fall crawl, and also our local businesses here in Romney. I know Wild Roots, Romney Brew Station, Anderson's Corner, White House, Country Store, Mint River Trading, the River House, Farmer's Daughter. Everybody's on board with this. So we're hoping to get a ton of people in over the weekend, and hopefully everybody's going to do really good business, have a really good day. And I haven't looked at the weather this morning, but I do believe it's supposed to be, when I looked last night, sunny and 75. So fingers crossed that holds out. And I do invite everybody to come, everybody in here, if you can come out this weekend. I know that the farmers would really appreciate it. And that's all I have. Thank you, and thank you for letting me come. Do you all have any questions?
No, Tina, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So no, you're not asking for anything, huh? Just to report?
Just reporting. We appreciate your support, and our goal is to keep growing and to do it in a good, sustainable way, and to do it in such a way that we're, like I said, I've said before, like we're preserving what we have here. I was just talking to someone yesterday, and they were saying, I just can't understand, why people are coming and staying in these Airbnbs for a weekend. And I was like, I said, have you ever been to DC or even in the suburbs, anytime recently? And he said, no. I said, well, drive down there and sit in that traffic for a little bit, and then you'll understand why. A lot of people just want to come out here to enjoy what we do. They're not looking for, any excitement or crazy things to do. They want to come experience the quiet, and it's kind of cool for them if they get stuck behind a tractor rather than sitting in traffic not moving. So, yeah, we got a lot to be proud of here.
Yeah, the jury's out on how pretty our county is.
Well, there, you know, you all continue to work on that, but honestly, if you travel around and look, we're pretty good, I think.
I've seen a statistic where every one West Virginia dollar invested into tourism produced a $3 return. So it's and I would say here for our county, for what the commission's invested, we're much better than that.
If you look, I'm not sure like about those numbers, but if you look in that annual report, there are statewide numbers. They just released their new report, so that information isn't reflected here. But on average, tourism saves every household $720 in taxes across West Virginia. And they announced this past year, which would have been, I don't even know, they just announced in September that tourism hit a little over $8 billion in West Virginia this year. If you look to the next to the last page and you see what they figured out our economic impact is, and then you look at our neighbors, I'm like, okay, we have room to grow. Our impact is, this was tourism economics. We put this in 2024, but this wasn't the report for 2024. But our economic impact was 30.78 million and 220 jobs. Even looking next door at Morgan, theirs is 59 million. And then you don't even want to look at Berkeley and Jefferson. But you know what? We're not going to be that big, and that's okay. They have different factors happening there. But I feel like we could get closer to like Tucker and Randolph, which are at 79 and 81 million.
Absolutely.
You know.
Thank you for the effort and time you put in, Tina. I wish some people could see where we were at when I came into office and what you and the CVB and Commissioner on your board have done. So, thank you.
It is. It's the people working with us too, though. That makes all the difference in the world when everybody realizes that we really do work better together than apart.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Anything else?
I'll just say, Tina, I enjoy being on your all's board. It's a rewarding as a commissioner to be on your board, and especially the last couple of years with the boost we've seen in our growth for tourism. And it's both other commissioners know that it's growth that comes with a lot of assets and not many liabilities. Some growth comes with liabilities, and we have to deal with that, but tourism is a little bit easier on that.
It is, yes.
So thank you for your work, and
Right.
continue to keep it up.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Gentlemen, we have a public hearing, proposed amendments to Hampshire County subdivision land use ordinance. We will allow, obviously, the public to speak and comment. I will lay some ground rules today. We're going to limit 2 minutes per person, and I would remind everybody that this is a hearing. Commissioners may respond if it please the commission. I will have order. If this gets out of control, we'll have a deputy kindly ask you to leave. So please be polite, excuse me, and please don't ask redundant questions. Be respectful to the people that come up. We have a lot of redundancy. Please pay attention to the people that are presenting here today or speaking, because we seem to have a lot of redundancy, and I'd like to eliminate that. So at this time, I'd like to open up the hearing. If anybody has any comments or statements, if you please would come forward. Yes, sir, Mr. Floyd.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
The only statement I have is I got no problem with them putting it on their property. I mean, I believe in the property rights, guaranteed to us. My whole problem with the solar farms is the federal money that's injected in this, which costs all of us as taxpayers an increase. If it was such a great idea, then I believe that the farmer that wants to do it would be putting his own cash into it and making it work. And if it's not a good idea, why are we doing it? I mean, I read the proposal for you guys had handed out. I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but I mean, I'm glad we're not doing any zoning, but it seems to me like they're all pretty good ideas on keeping, you know, the elements from being too much in the public view, or I think it's kind of close to this county school out there, but I guess we need to work on them kind of things. But like I said, my entire thing is just being against the government federal subsidies that is coming in and creating all this. And it's obvious because we have some people back there that aren't from here, but they're here for windmills and other things, and I'm just against all that. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. Haynes.
I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes. I think I can do that. So my name is Mark Haynes. I've been in this county as a taxpayer for somewhat over 20 years now. It's a beautiful county. I love it. I love the farms. I love the mountains. I love the forests. And we're unique in that we're just kind of on the edge of this expanding suburbanization coming out of D.C. and Winchester. So we're very special. So thank you for moving forward on these amendments to the saldo as they relate to solar energy. Before getting into any specifics, and again, I'm going to try and make this quick, I want to take a minute to recount what I think should be obvious, and you all probably know about the bigger picture. Energy is not just an incidental thing. Energy, and particularly electric power, are the master resource. Affordable energy is essential for affordable food, education, health care, materials, consumer goods, transportation, all of these things. If your energy is not affordable, your economy is weak and your nation is weak. So it's the foundation on which our civilization rests. Expensive and unreliable energy is a prescription for a weak economy and a weak nation. Just look at Germany, which about 2 decades ago went down this road of increasing their, basically relying as much as they can on renewable energy. Their economy's a mess. England's going down that road now, or Great Britain is. It's not going to be pretty. Solar and wind are by their very nature unreliable. There will never be enough batteries or transmission lines to carpet that over. If we paved the whole United States with solar collectors and windmills, it would still be unreliable, and we would still need a reliable energy source like natural gas, nuclear, or coal to make it reliable. And so a double-built system like this, it doesn't take any particular subtle thought, really, to realize that that's going to make our energy more expensive. And it's also going to make the grid less reliable. And this is a cancer on our country. Here in Hampshire County, the massive amounts of land that are going to be consumed by this essentially cotton candy energy will come out of our forests and our farms. And it doesn't take a special, or it does take a special kind of genius to conclude that this does not make any environmental sense at any scale. So to cap off these insults to our environment, when the useful life of these facilities is over, say 15 or 20 years from now, the bonding company or whatever limited liability corporation owns these things is not going to particularly care about doing a good job of cleanup. Just ask yourself, 20 years from now, the choice here is, are they going to do an excellent job? Or are they going to do a, half-baked job? I almost said something else. Or are they simply going to walk away? That's their choice. These companies aren't from here now. They're not going to be from here then, and they're going to care. They care less now, and they won't. And they'll care even less then. So they're going to be seriously lawyered up at that point, and good luck. They'll say, see you in court, and they're going to say that to the county, and they're going to say that to the landowners. I think that's probably a pretty fair prediction. Every one of these facilities that it's built weakens our economy, needlessly degrades our land and our environment, and leaves a bigger mess for our children and grandchildren to clean up. The only ones that benefit from this are the companies that are gobbling up the federal tax credits and the folks who are willing to let their land be ruined for short-term monetary gain. Our growing tourism industry, I'm going to try and shorten this, that was just discussed, is potentially partly on the line here. Our land and water quality and our environment and are all losers in this equation. And despite the widely unexamined claims, unfortunately unexamined, there are no climate benefits to these things.
Mr. Haynes, I'm going to
Yeah.
have to ask you to stop there.
Yep.
If we have no other speakers, I allow you to come back up, sir.
Okay, got a little bit more.
Okay. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak? Ma'am? Mrs. Embry?
How are you? Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
So I think we all know how I feel about them in general. I know you're going to make decisions, but I think the one thing that might be very important is the buffer around them. I think 500 feet is great. I think 1,000 would be greater. I think it deters a lot of, the cost of what it is for them to come here. I don't know if that's a decision you can make or if it has to go back to the Planning Commission, but, they're here. They're advertising here. So, I don't think what we have now is going to make that much of a difference to them, being that they're so huge. They're worth so much money. I don't really know what else to say other than that. I mean, I would like them to go away completely. But, at some point, we have to consider zoning in order to do that, at least to put them in different areas. Really, that's it. I mean, if there was a way to keep them from being able to connect to other properties, so that if they took 600 acres, they wouldn't be able to take another 600 next to it. I don't know how you would define that, but.
Yeah, it will be our decision, and we do have those parameters proposed in the amendment. So
Is that something you guys do?
yes, well,
You consider?
we'll make the final decision on whether it amends the county ordinance, and then planning would enforce the ordinance.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all, really.
Thank
So,
you.
My advice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Mr. Haynes, allow you another 2 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, just to briefly continue, as you consider these amendments to the saldo, the stricter you make them, the better off our power grid, the better off our economy, the better off our environment is going to be here, and the weaker these amendments to the saldo, just the opposite. So a few specifics. As I understand it, the logic behind the 250-foot setback is something like if there may be property owners whose land is not quite large enough to accommodate that and still have these facilities. And to that, I guess I say, well, that's good. The effect of these amendments, I think in a lot of people's view, my view, is that the effect of them should be to keep these facilities out of Hampshire County in the first place. And further, just to speak to the fencing, in about 10 years, those fences themselves are going to be a ramshackle eyesore, few fences or anything but, without maintenance. And good luck to the developer and to the county in seeing a healthy vegetative screen developed, particularly as it seems to get drier and drier around here. Secondly, please get rid of this waiver section. Every single one of these facilities that's built is going to want one of these waivers. And secondly, or with regard to that, what is the objective criteria for accepting or rejecting a waiver? This just seems like future lawsuit fodder. Third, you're going to be causing yourself and your staff a whole lot of work and the public a lot of stress. So I just don't do it with the waiver. Get rid of that section. Third, on specifics, sharpen up the decommissioning section. Right now, there's, as far as I can tell, there's no definition to define what abandoned means. And unless you have that defined, there's no real trigger, I don't think, in setting up a actual decommissioning when that, when that needs to occur. I know this is about solar, but I would encourage you to take up wind too. Everything I've said about solar is true about wind, and in some cases, wind is even more of a blight on the land. So I suspect that there are a lot of people in the county that are fervently hoping, one, that you'll pass these, maybe strengthen these amendments to the saldo, but many people I know are hoping that you'll take the next step to protecting our environment and our county and our tourism industry and so on. And that would be some very targeted, very limited zoning to get a better handle on these. But having said all that, thank you for doing what is almost unique in West Virginia and rare in the country writ large, which is implementing some changes to county rules to get some control of this. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir. I will speak to the comment about this costing us more over time. I got a little leaflet the other day on our rates, and there is a renewable electricity surcharge that is a kilowatt hour charge, if you will, on your electric bills for renewable electricity. Thought that was neat, and I'd encourage everybody to look into this and investigate it as well to see exactly what it's costing us in whole, because we see the federal subsidies, we see a lot of the tax benefits that they get, but also what it's costing us on the front end as well when we receive our premiums. Do we have a limitation, gentlemen? Mr. Bronken? Need to be open at least? Okay.
No, there's no
Okay.
limitation, I'm sorry.
Morning, gentlemen. Before you is the SALDO, the subdivision land development ordinance, with the Planning Commission's recommendations for the proposed amendments to be added. Nothing has changed since the meeting on the 20th of August. We haven't changed any of the proposed amendments. So this has been out at the county libraries downstairs and online for over a month. This is an imperfect document. I will be the first one to admit it. But it is a document that's been vetted by our legal firm. It's been vetted by engineering, and it is a document that should pass muster in any court of law. But if you have two attorneys, they're going to come up with two different answers, and you're going to have a lawsuit no matter what. This is a first step. This is something that we don't have right now, and because we don't have it, what you have out on Ford Hill Road is what you get. This minimizes that from ever happening again. It doesn't eliminate it. What I'd like to say is it's middle ground. It's where we think we can be and still win in court. We have to go further. If you approve this today, we have to do an update on the comprehensive plan, the Hampshire County Comprehensive Plan. It's due anyway, and it has to be adjusted for solar, wind, and everything else. So it's a stepping stone. It's something that the county doesn't have. Yes, I agree with several of the comments. If you really want to not have solar, not have wind in this county, you have to do zoning, and you have to do a moratorium after that. And if you talk to the legal experts that have 40-some-odd years of experience, they will tell you the moratoriums have gone down in flames every time they've tried to impose a moratorium or enforce a moratorium. This document balances the rights of property owners, Hampshire County property owners, with the rights of people that would like to see solar still in Iowa. But like I said at the beginning, it's an imperfect document, but it's more than what this county has now. And it's been done with an extremely amount of work, a large amount of work. My wife says, I think I got it about right because I've got everybody in the county angry at me. So if that's the case, so be it. But I think it's a document that will be the right step at this time for this county. You have the final decision, gentlemen, and we'll go whatever direction you want to for the Planning Commission. But the only other way that I see is, and it doesn't come easily and it doesn't come in a short time, is to look at zoning.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you there, sir.
Yep.
I appreciate the recommendation. The only comment that I had, gentlemen, is also one that Mr. Haynes made about the more clearly defined definition of abandon. Obviously, we know the textbook or dictionary definition, but I think from what I've learned, attorneys can misconstrue, curtail, spin anything, any word to help an argument. So I would like to pass this today, but I would like to notify the commission there may be a future upgrades or amendments, but overall a pretty well-written recommendation by the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Well, for me, there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about the actual ordinance. It's something that we have done, and I say we, the Planning Commission has done at our request. And I think that they've done an excellent job of making it somewhat more difficult for solar farms. Me personally, I don't like solar farms. However, I'm also one that I'm not a proponent of zoning in any form for the county. I just don't feel that we should be telling people what they can and cannot do with their property. As far as solar farms, I think there's other places that they could put solar farms. And matter of fact, with the program that the state came out, and you gentlemen have heard me talk about this before, but the program that they come out with, payment in lieu of taxes, it was for solar farms to be put on mine reclamation sites and property that cannot be used for anything else. And we have some properties like that in Hampshire County down at the old Coppers plant. Of course, it may have been sold, but I don't know exactly what the status of that is now. But those are places that I think these farms should be put in, or the solar panels should be put in. And most people here, if you think about this, if they took the one on Fort Hill Road and put it up on Nathaniel Mountain or Short Mountain, we probably wouldn't even be having this discussion because it was out of sight and out of mind. So that's not really a good analogy, but that's basically how I feel about it. But I think that the Planning Commission has done a good job with this amendment, and I feel that it's, and just because if we would pass this today, just because we would pass it today, don't mean that we can't amend it further on down the road, because I think there'll be, there's going to be things that we may want to change. And that can be done too, as long as we make those amendments without grandfathering anybody in. And so, basically, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any comments, sir?
Yes, Commissioner, I would like to comment as well. I want to thank the folks for coming in and coming up to the table here and giving their comments, some good comments. You know, I agree with Mr. Floyd. I think if these things were so awesome, you know, farmers would just go and do it. They wouldn't need help or additional funds to make it work. You know, when I go build my poultry farm or buy cows, I don't ask for the government to help me do that. So I agree with Mr. Floyd. I agree with Miss Embry there too on some of her comments, because personally, like Commissioner Hott said, I don't think it's a good fit for Hampshire County. Number of reasons. We got some beautiful farmland, some beautiful mountains, but our farmland especially is limited. But it's a target, and it's easy to set up solar panels on. So, you know, I don't think that's a good combination for the county. Mr. Haynes spoke too. I agree with several of the comments he has as well. And I think it's important for the commissioners to give their stand on an issue like this. The pro-politicians will tell you that it's sometimes better to fence sit, but I'm glad we usually don't see that out of our three commissioners here. I do think it's important, and I'm not a supporter of these coming into the county, and I think our document here, and I applaud the planning board for tackling this. It wasn't easy, but it's a meet in the middle document, as Rolf explained, and I think it's a start. Zoning's been mentioned a couple times, and if I was in a discussion 8 or 10 years ago, I would have told you I hate zoning. Since I've been in this position, I've researched a lot. And I still don't want to be quoted as a fan of zoning, but I'll put this out there because it's been mentioned several times here just in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You know, with these ordinances and different things, you know, we're already being told what to do with our land. Every single ordinance or different type of rule that's passed is in some ways affecting what you do with your home or your land or the county. And over the years, I've softened on zoning a little bit because I've learned that we don't have to zone like our neighbors to the east of us. Your zoning can be particular. I mean, if you want your zoning to protect farming or protect hunting ground, you can shape it and form it in that way. It doesn't have to be a zoning that's all about housing developments and that sort of thing. You can pinpoint what you want to protect. So again, I hope I'm not quoted as the commissioner that is out here preaching zoning, but I think for the citizens of this county and what we hear today and what I've heard over the last couple months, to get what they want, exactly what they want, you're going to have to look at something like that. And again, like I said, I didn't completely understand zoning 8 or 10 years ago, and I'd have been one of those folks in the meeting that said no way, but you can zone to protect what you care about in your county, so it's a consideration. And I'll echo what Commissioner Hott said. This is and I think Commissioner Cannon said the same thing. This is a starter document. Us three gentlemen here have the ability to bring it back to the Planning Commission at any time and fix and improve or start all over. But again, Rolf mentioned that we have nothing right now, no way to monitor or police this in any way at the time, so we need something. And that's, I believe this document does serve as something and does serve to start to address some of the deep concerns that we're hearing from the county. That's all I have, Commissioner. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, yeah. I appreciate you bringing up that when you hear the Z word, zoning, it scares a lot of people, and I'm glad you mentioned that, and I've tried to disseminate that information. We can zone just exclusively for solar, you know, and Commissioner Hott mentioned the placement of these things seems to be the #1 topic. I've done a lot of research, and we have a huge landfill here that could be covered in them, the old reclaimed areas of it. And the cities, they put them on their roofs in the car parks. I mean, there's a lot of places that these things could go that would still be advantageous to them and suit the community and not hurt tourism, et cetera. And I'm certainly not for anything that would limit a lady or gentleman on what they could or could not do with their land. But when it becomes, what you're doing becomes a detriment to your neighbor, or when you absolutely disagree with the radical policy that implemented something, even as a conservative, you have to stand up against it. And I think this may be unpopular for a lot of people, but I think as leaders, that's what good leaders do. They see something that maybe everybody else isn't seeing, and they believe in it, and they show you why you should believe in it too. And I have nothing further.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm gonna get us all centered, and we can take it from there. At this time, I move that we adopt this ordinance and this amendment to the ordinance known as the Hampshire County Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance, effective October the 8th, 2024.
I'll second the motion, Mr. President, and I'll just add that I would really like the commission and the planning board to keep this on the radar. I don't think this is a document that just, now we're done with it, let's stick it on the shelf. I think we need to be talking about it again in the future. So, but yes, I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation as presented by the Planning Commission for amendments to the saldo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed, unanimous. There's no further discussion. Moving on to consideration of the resolution by Pendleton County, West Virginia Commission regarding National Radio Quiet Zone. You gentlemen received a digital copy of this. if you'd like, I'd like to read it out loud to the public. Go ahead, sir.
You want me to read it?
If you'd
Commissioner,
like.
is that what you're?
Yes, well, you
Or were
could.
you going to read it?
Go ahead and take a second. Have you
Okay.
looked at it, Bob?
Yeah, and they talked about this, well, I talked to Pendleton County probably about a month ago about this, and they're having a problem in the quiet zone with their cell phones and their EMS radios and so forth about not being able to get certain frequencies. And there's other counties that have joined Pendleton County with resolutions. However, originally I was thinking that maybe we should do a resolution of our own, but I don't really think we fit. I think we could maybe do a letter of support to the Pendleton County. Our site on Bald Knob, I think one time we had to move the frequency, I forget where we were shooting, but we had to move it so it wouldn't interfere with the quiet zone, and that did affect us some, but not terribly. So I'm thinking that if we would just do a letter of support to the Pendleton County Commission, supporting their resolution, I think would be fine. I just don't feel that we could sit down and do a resolution of our own just for Hampshire County, even though there is a little part of Hampshire, I think, that is in the quiet zone. But that's in talking to the people at Pendleton, and in talking to our Homeland Security here and the people at 911 and Aaron Cox, I feel that a letter of support would be the proper thing to do.
I went ahead and drafted a suggested letter. That'd be up for you guys, how you'd like to change it.
No, no. I agree, Commissioner Hott. I'm in favor of and I believe you summed it up for the public there. I'm in agreement with the letter of support.
If that's a motion, Commissioner Hott, I'll second the motion for a letter of support for the Pendleton County concerns of the radio quiet zone.
Okay, that was the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed.
I drafted a suggested letter there if that suits.
This one. Okay. I'll read the letter. Dear Commissioners, during the regular meeting of this date, the Hampshire County Commission voted to express support for your resolution dated September 3rd, which stated your opposition to the National Radio Quiet Zone. We understand that the NRQZ severely impacts communications for law enforcement and emergency services and inhibits the widespread growth of modern communications in Pendleton County, West Virginia. The Hampshire County Commission wishes to be on record in support of the efforts of Pendleton County Commission to gain relief from the oppressive effects of the NRQC on the citizens and communities of Pendleton County, West Virginia.
Can you get Karen Pitzenbarger? She's, just let her know and send her a copy of that.
We're running a little bit behind here. Do we have Amanda Barnes, compliance officer, we have 3 cell tower permit applications for a representative?
You don't look like Miss Barnes. Huh? Girl uglied up, didn't she?
This is always good to see, improvements to cell service. I think I've seen 2 of these already.
Oh, this is out on Mono Tower. This one is. That's out on Augusta there. Is this one that? These are just updates, Ralph, most of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
New antennas, upgrade antennas.
AT&T is upgrading, and so is
Gonna upgrade.
RJ.
You guys, go ahead. Look. Yeah, I seen this one. Equipment update.
Would you like these in separate motions, Mr. President, or you want to?
No, sir, one motion would be good.
Okay. Mr. President, I move that the county commission approve the permits for the upgrading and modifying antennas at 389 Sheriff Drive and 1344 Ben's Knob Trail for also update on antennas, and 846 Bald Hill Road, update of equipment.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second for the county commission to approve the cell tower permits as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for bringing those in, Ralph.
We're all caught back up here. Do we have any items we could knock off the list here, sir?
We do. We have tax exonerations. We also have HCESA exemptions.
This one here, does that mean that those won't get paid this year?
Exonerated value of 2 cameras and so on.
I mean, just because they're put on the wrong lots doesn't mean that someone shouldn't pay it this year, correct? You see what Bob says?
Yeah. Yeah.
On these 2 campers here, they were put on the wrong lots, so they're exonerated from that individual, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be paid this year by the people that do own it, correct?
Yeah.
So how do
I'm
we-
assuming she's, well, I'm assuming she's doing that.
We need to
Yeah.
ask her.
Yeah. Do you want to exempt or not include this in the motion?
Yeah, let's not include that one.
Okay.
I'll talk to Norma.
Okay. Mr. President, I move we approve the exonerations with the exception of exoneration number 309185 that we have some questions about. So I move that we approve the exonerations except that one ticket.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the exonerations as detailed there by Commissioner Hott. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. We also have some exemptions.
On the ambulance exemption, gentlemen, I just wanted you to look here. It is recommended for approval. However, it states that this person is paying on their residence. I'm assuming there's camp lots involved. If that's for private use only, then they would be exempt. However, there's nothing that states that that is the case or not the case. So you guys can look at that.
Take a second. And this, I believe, pertains to
Same one?
that exoneration. So that's, I want you to take a look at that. Two or more campers constitutes a campground. Correct?
Yeah.
Is that according to the ordinance? According to the ordinance, two or more campers constitutes a campground,
We
unless
don't-
they're personal.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, and if you don't want to, we don't have to do it. We can just send these back and tell me one more clarification.
Okay.
Is there
That's
any-
not all of them, gentlemen. There's a stack here which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are recommended to denial and 6 are recommended to approve. I'll let you look over those two. That one was just a little different than the rest of the stack there, so.
Now, I certainly pay on multiple residences. I don't understand how this is.
That's if you. Just
Okay.
yours, then you don't pay.
Okay.
But it doesn't say that, that's why.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I pay on multiple ones too, but I don't have a camp, so it wouldn't matter.
Just for the public, we're going over EMS exemption request, and individual pays on residence, and if you pay on your residence and you have a personal camper, you don't have to also pay on that one, but it doesn't specify or clearly state that that's the case. It just says that there's other campers. So we're trying to clarify the matter.
I'd like to hold all of them and just have them go over them and clarify those more than what they're clarified. Some of those, I'm not sure.
Okay.
We don't have to have a motion, we'll just send them back over them.
Just
Back up-
table it till
back up
next
to them.
meeting?
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to table the exemptions till next commission meeting?
I move that we do.
Second.
A motion and a second to table the EMS exemptions as presented to our next regular meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion passed.
Get a hold of Ted or somebody, have them to verify them damn things.
HCESA payroll concerns, gentlemen.
I had that put on there, Commissioner. we've had some concerns about the HCSA payroll for some time. We were paying a lot of overtime. That is it is a concern of ours, and of course we haven't really discussed this as far as me or you or Commissioner Egninger, but I have had some discussions with the Treasurer's Office and with the Homeland Security and 911, and we do have a concern about the overtime that's being paid. And if you recall, they presented a budget to us in March, and I would like for us as a commission to direct the HCSA board and also with the commissioner as president at a meeting to go over and look at that budget and submit a different budget to indicate where we're trying to make some cuts and trying to come to a solution on some of the extra overtime. I do know that they have changed the scheduling, and I really think that we're going to see a marked decrease in the overtime. However, I'm not sure that's going to be enough. We're not really concerned about today or tomorrow, or next week or next month, but we're concerned more or less down the road. If we continue at the rate that we're going, we're concerned about our financial situation in maybe 2 or 3 or 4, say 3 or 4 months. So I would like, and you guys can discuss this, or we can discuss it here, but I would like for us maybe to direct the HCSA to, within the next week or so, to revise that budget and come up with something more realistic than what it is now. If you recall, when they did do their budget was more or less not like the budget that we approved with the sheriff and so forth, because their budget was just on their particular fee that they get in, the fee, the $100 fee plus the non-fee fund. We have 2 funds, and the $100 fee is specifically for salaries. Of course, we can also use a non-fund fee to help with salaries, but when they submitted the budget, it was just with the fee account, I'm sure. So I would like for us maybe to also meet with them and go over this and see if we could maybe revise that budget.
I agree.
And I'd like to do that. I think we should do that as soon as possible.
Yeah, also, when the budget was presented, it was balanced outside of the new building, EMS building. And I realize there's some speculation on the non-fee account, as you know, we know it's hard to collect, and I believe the percentage is about 4 out of 10 people actually pay their EMS bill, so there's some speculation there, but and it's a very hard outfit to run. You know, you're trying to keep the county safe. I understand it's very expensive, and when public safety is involved, I certainly don't want to be one that lacks in any area. But yeah, absolutely, I agree. Did you have any comments, sir?
Yes, gentlemen, I'll just say I've spoke with the Treasurer's Office and done a good bit of research, and I'll just say, the HCSA, they've seen in the past couple of years an increase in demand. Just post-COVID, the demand for their services is, just went crazy. Obviously, like all other businesses, and we have to run that like a business. We see our other businesses across the county, across the state, across the nation, having to give raises to keep employees, to keep their good employees and to get new employees. we've had to do that. And, you know, the HCSA that I've helped design 7.5 years ago, it's now doing way more than it was ever designed to do. So those are concerns. HCESA came to us a month ago. They do have some plans, the changes that are being made. As Commissioner Hott stated, that may not be enough, and I think it's doubly important with our director, who's been there several years now, leaving here at the end of the year, and with a new director coming, we do need to look at the long term on the budget there. So I would echo both of your gentlemen's suggestion for a revamp or relook at the budget numbers for the rest of this fiscal year.
If I could ask the treasurer, if you'd come up, please, sir. Do you request a executive session on personnel? Sir, are you comfortable?
That's up to you guys.
Gentlemen?
Normally, personnel issues are executive session. If that's what you gentlemen want, then I would move that personnel issues, that we go into executive session due to personnel issues.
I'll second
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
it. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. session. No decisions or motions were made. And we have Mr. Robert Steptoe from Cruz and Associates here for financial guidance on our potential bonding request. Thank you, sir. Thank you. How are you today, sir?
I'm fine. How are you?
Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yep.
So you're here to just answer questions, or did you have a initial briefing?
Well, I had a good conversation recently with Commissioner Hott, and he explained to me in general terms that there could be a development financing project in the Cape and Bridge area, I believe. You know, these development finance projects, they're, you know, they have a variety of things they're called. A lot of them are called tax increment financing districts, but development districts can be funded through various revenue sources. But in general, that conversation led to me being here today to address any kind of questions that you all may have related to development financing and the differences between a development financing which you know, has a different type of obligation for the county than, for instance, lease revenue bonds, which would be more of a direct obligation to the county than a development financing.
So my main question is the liability to the commission if we were to vote to become the conduit for these bonds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. A conduit issuer does not have the same type of obligation that for a tax increment financing project would have. With a tax increment financing, what you're doing is you are generating a revenue source from scratch, basically. You know, you go in and you set what are called the base assessed values after you've set up the boundaries of the tax increment financing district. You work with the assessor's office to get those values for the base. And then you also work with the developer who will provide you projected development project information, projected appraised values of each type of property that's going to be developed. And then from those, you know, usually a revenue consultant is hired, and they'll put together a revenue projection report typically. And so from that, then you would move into, you know, looking for financing professionals who understand tax increment financing, and you know, a combination of these, and you're working with your assessor, your county assessor, on these, and the revenue consultant, and based on the boundaries that you have approved. You also have an application that has to go to the West Virginia Department of Economic Development. Used to be called West Virginia Development Office, but people use them interchangeably. But that application has to be approved. But, you know, all of these moving parts are happening simultaneously. And so it becomes important to hire the right people for these types of projects. But again, let me go back to the liability again. Conduit issuance by the county, it does not, you are not directly responsible to repay the debt, but the debt is still going to be on your financial statements. It's still going to be on your books. So that's kind of important to keep in mind, because I don't know down the road what you all have planned, but what we've run into in other circumstances for other counties and cities over the years is, if they get to a point where they want to go out and look at some type of credit rating for either the county commission or the city, or a credit rating on the bonds themselves, and they get they make an application for that through, let's say, Moody's or Standard & Poor's, or even if it's bond insurance, those folks are going to be looking at financial statements that will have these conduit obligations, these indirect conduit issuance obligations on your financial statements. And in some cases, recently, rating agencies have used that in their scorecard criteria, okay, to analyze how much financing is really, like how much leverage is going on in the county and that kind of thing. It didn't used to always be that way, but recently there's been a trend to look at that. And so these are the kinds of things that you probably would like to know now before you go forward. Because if you wanted to look, I don't know at some point in the future if you were interested in a direct financing, a direct debt obligation, such as the annex that my firm financed back in 2007 or 2008, Cruz & Associates, and you wanted to go out and get a bond rating to lower the interest cost, which is primarily the objective of doing that, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process for your taxpayers, you would want to know about that now, and the fact that they may look at that and they may do what's called notching. They may notch you down, or they may politely decline to assign a rating based on having so much financial indirect leverage out there. Who's to say? But I feel more comfortable letting you know that those are the realities out there at this point. With all that said, if you have the right developer and the right project, and you have the right legal counsel, and you have a good revenue consultant and so forth, all of that can really be pulled together toward a successful development financing project. But I just don't know very much about, Cape and Bridge, the boundaries, the project, the developer, any of that. So I'm just staying very general in my sort of experience in this part of municipal finance, municipal development finance.
Okay. And the fees, are they dictated by the institution, are they presented to us for us to accept? Do we have any say in the fees we collect?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Typically, what happens is once you have a base assessed value, and then you've got reliable development revenue projections, then your revenue consultant can project annual TIF revenue. So what is that? What is that? There's a term, and there's an important term in tax increment financing, and it's increment. So what is increment? What does it mean? The increment is the difference between the value, the lower value, when you get that original, what it's worth now out there without any development on it. Has there been any development on it? Has there been any improvements on it yet?
No.
No ground. JT, would you come forward,
Okay.
please? There's been, they haven't broken
So
ground.
you're down here with your base assessed value that your assessor's going to help you with, and then you're going to have the developer and his team. They're going to give you square footage. They're going to go out and they're going to look at, if they're not going to do it, the revenue consultant will, if they're a good revenue consultant. They'll go out and get comparable properties and what they're worth out in the state, the region, and the country. And then they have software that puts all this together. That way, you're getting as reliable information as possible. It's still estimated, it's still projected, but the difference between that low base assessed value and what the developer gives you, this is our project, this is the type of property, okay, is it retail, is it commercial? You know, that type of information. What's the square footage? What's the cost per square foot? Put all that together, okay, with the square footage, and then you get this estimated value of the assessed value, or I'm sorry, the appraised value. Okay, so then you have to, once you have this top end appraised value, then you've got to drop that to 60%, because that's the assessed value calculation. So in other words, if the property's worth 1 million, you're only allowed to assess on 600,000.
Okay.
So the difference between, back to increment, the difference is, the increment is that difference between the base assessed value and the current assessed value each year. So what you do is you size the financing based on the projected increment, the net increment, after you pay for administrative fees and everything else. What is that increment each year? That's how you structure and size the financing. Let's say you need $10 million in infrastructure, but your increment is only going to give you 6. That's a problem. It's not an insurmountable problem. What happens a lot of times is the developer steps up and they agree to take what are called subordinate bonds on. That'll then later hopefully be repaid with excess surplus increment down the road.
Okay. And basically, these steps are how we'll determine the worth and what we can ask for in fees.
Yeah.
So we
well,
need
okay.
a projected appraisal of what that outfit, factory, or apparatus, the shrimp farm apparatus would be and value at. Take 60% of that.
Yep.
Minus all
Yep.
the fees and everything, and
Yeah.
and see what
Yes.
the net increment is in order to
Exactly.
determine what fees we can collect.
Fees or revenue, I'd call it revenue.
Revenue, rather.
Because then what you're going to do is then you're going to go ask, you're going to go ask an investment banking firm, like Cruz and Associates, my firm, or another firm, it's your choosing. You're going to ask them to go finance that, but they're going to have to sell that.
Okay.
And so they're going to ask a lot of questions. And a lot of those questions have to do with the viability of the project. Are you issuing too much debt? Are you taking on, is there local opposition to it in the community? These are all questions that get asked and should be asked.
So just to be blunt, they're asking for us to be the conduit on $10.5 million. We need to know that what they're building is going to be at least that value, or 60% of that, or there will be a 40% net above that 10.5.
Well, I would not get into numbers at that point.
Okay.
At this point, as far as sizing and what the projected increment would be.
Okay.
That's quite a few steps ahead.
Okay.
Are the boundaries set on the TIF? Is the TIF district established?
I do not know.
Yeah.
I do know that they have hired, they have legal representation. They have hired an investment banker out of North Carolina that is supposed to be coming here to speak in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so I guess one of the questions I've got, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Is, we're here kind of talking about liability to our county. Obviously, it's important for us to hire, have legal representation. What other professionals should be, I mean, I know that he's got a banker, investment banker.
That's a
he's
great
got a lawyer.
question.
What other professionals do we need to employ to protect the county?
That is an excellent question. I was just about to go into it. Once you said they've already hired an investment banking firm, it's very common to then also for the county to hire a financial advisor, or what we call a municipal advisor, and that's what we do as well. We don't have a conflict. If we're the underwriter, then we can't be the advisor. There's an inherent conflict there.
Okay.
But since you have an investment banker that's already engaged out of North Carolina or wherever, it
But,
would.
let me be clear, it's not we haven't, he has.
He has, right. No, and that's exactly how it works.
Okay.
The developer, you know, we did this, and we've done this several times in Monongalia County for the County Commission of Monongalia. Cruz has been their municipal advisor on 4 or 5 transactions, fairly sizable, complex transactions for the West Ridge development where the Bass Pro Shop is. If you've been out there, the Menards, the Kohl's, the Texas Roadhouse. And we've also been the advisor on the other side where the Mon County Ballpark is and all of that development up through University Town Center. So we have a lot of experience with that. It's not just me, it's the head of our National Public Finance, Michael Lambert, who does tax increment financing districts all over the country. He probably represents in either an underwriter or financial advisor capacity 20 different states or issuers in 20 different states. So we have an excellent team. I have an analyst also who is a CPA. So, you know, we really drill in, and we put together a lot of due diligence for not only the investment banking firm, but also the developer, for your benefit. And as Mr. Todd said, to protect you all. Our only duty is to you all in that capacity. We have a fiduciary duty to you all, and so that's what we focus on.
Okay.
That's another question, David.
Yes, sir.
If we would happen to go down this road and the commission would approve us to be a conduit for this, the client, in this case, has told me on several occasions that any professionals that we hire, the expense associated with an attorney, an investment banker, so on and so forth, would then be covered by them. Is that statement true? Or is that an accurate statement? That any costs associated for professional services would be covered by
The bond.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can cover costs, you know, one or, you know, in different ways. The most common is for the net increment each year that sizes the borrowing amount. It's going to have some different components to it. It's going to have the deposit to the project fund. It's probably going to have what's called capitalized interest. Capitalized interest is you have to pay the investors before the project is built and actually generating revenue. Do you follow me there?
Yes.
Okay, so you have to capitalize and therefore borrow that money that you're going to pay the investors up front. And so it's just typically for a temporary period. It could be for 6 months, a year, 2 years, until the project's built and actually generating revenue. Once it's generating revenue, then it's generating revenue and it's expected to make the principal and interest payments on the TIF obligations. So you have your project fund amount, you have your capitalized interest, you're going to have a reserve fund requirement in all likelihood. So that's a rainy day fund. Then you're going to have probably what are called, well, not probably, absolutely, cost of issuance. You're going to pay the professionals, you're going to pay the attorneys, you're going to pay the financial advisor, you're going to pay the investment banking firm. Let me back that up 1 second. The investment banking firm or the placement agent. Okay, so this group out in North Carolina, if that's who it is, they're either going to come in and they're going to buy the bonds themselves and underwrite this as a public offering, or they're going to be what's called a placement agent. Okay, and so there's still regulatorily, a placement agent and an underwriter are one and the same, but the method of sale is different. And so when you have what's a brand-new TIF, unproven, unseasoned revenue stream, it's pretty typical not to do a public offering. Because in a public offering, you're selling these to all different types of investors, okay? You could have what's called a limited offering, okay? And a limited offering is where you're not, the most important thing to avoid in something that is speculative, because it is speculative, is you do not want to sell speculative bond, you don't want to sell speculative bonds for such as a TIF district to what are called retail investors, which are individual investors. They don't have the resources and the expertise. These are high net worth individual investors. These are Mr. Hot. These are whoever out there who wants to invest. They don't have the resources and they aren't able to commit the time to understanding the risks involved. So what you do is you either place the financing with a local bank that understands the area, or you place the bonds with what are called institutional accredited investors or qualified institutional buyers. And they have the expertise, the sophistication, the resources to appreciate the risk.
Okay.
And so that firm will declare that they're going to be the underwriter, but we don't know what their method of sale is. But I would venture a guess that it would probably be either a limited offering or a private placement.
Okay.
Based on what I just described.
From the way that I currently understand it, it's Wells Fargo, and they have already done a lot of this, and that's who's going to be the bond issuer. These are tax-exempt bonds.
Okay.
Under one of the 9 to 12 schedules that allows Aquabank to apply for those.
Okay.
So
I would say there's quite a bit of due diligence ahead.
Okay.
Before, crossing that Rubicon and
Okay.
making decisions that, are burdensome to unwind and undo
Okay.
later. It's important to have the right legal counsel for not only you all, but the developer. And I have a very good idea of who's good in this state based on working with them every day. So I could help you with that as well.
could you give us some of those names?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Professionals you recommend?
Yeah. Let's see. Well, let's
wait.
let's have that conversation.
Okay.
But I mean, I've got 2 or 3, but
Okay.
I think one is already involved for the developer.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. Yeah, wow, I really appreciate the education.
Of course,
This
of
is
course.
excellent.
And
Thank you.
I'm only in Morgantown. I can be back anytime.
Thank you. Did you gentlemen have any other questions? Mr. Steptoe? Liability, fees, you've addressed all of my questions.
Let me think about this for a second. I didn't finish out the fees and the costs and so forth. So we have the project fund, we have capitalized interest fund, we have a reserve fund, we have the cost of issuance to pay the professionals, administrative fees are number 5. There may be some miscellaneous cost.
So we have,
And,
let me reiterate, project fund, capital interest fund, administration fees fund, reserve fund, and cost of issuance.
Capitalized interest, yeah.
Capitalized.
And that's that. So think of it this way. you have that 10 million project. You wonder why it drops to 6 million in my hypothetical. It's because of all of that upfront cost to finance.
Sure.
I mean, these are, and it's, I mean, it's typical, it's standard. And so that's why a lot of times, the developer, they've got the right size development project, and the revenue projections, seem to be pretty sound, but it's only going to generate 6 million in increment when you need 10 million. And that was where I'm saying, do they come in with a subordinate piece to complete, the required financing need? And so that's a real standard challenge, because there's so many costs involved, especially in setting these up. Primarily that capitalized interest cost is expensive, and that combined with the reserve fund, it dwarfs the cost of issuance typically. I mean, the cost of issuance, you're going to pay a bond counsel, you're going to pay local counsel probably, you're going to pay placement agent or underwriters counsel, you're going to pay the municipal advisor if you so choose to have one to protect your interests. Our eyes are on everything when we do these. We look at all the documents. We're involved with all the working group calls and meetings. We're providing the county or the city with update reports on what we're seeing. Like, this is, these are issues that the developer group and the underwriter and the revenue consultant need to answer for you all, that we're identifying. We have bullet point after bullet point of what we're seeing. And my team, it does a really good job of looking at all that, because at the end of the day, again, you're our client, and only you, your best interest and this county's citizens are your best interests, so they are our best interest therefore as well. And you want this to cash flow. You want this to be successful. But there's a whole lot that goes into these, especially when you start projecting. We're conservative when it comes to these. I'll be honest with you, because it avoids a lot of risk. It avoids a lot of unanticipated problems later on when you're able to identify and work through these issues before the TIF district is even in place. So, you're going to have to work on all kinds of public approvals for this. You're going to have a public hearing. Your bond counsel will set all that up. You'll have checklists of items to go through, and all of the working group goes through, and so it's a process. It's a real process.
They're wanting to come in and present here soon, so I anticipate this initial meeting just being informative and
Right.
seeing what they're going to lay out and things of that nature.
Sure.
But I did have one last question. If we do decide to be the conduit, they don't have discretion to take this money anywhere other than our county.
No, great question. Absolutely not. They don't have any discretion over taking that money out of the TIF district.
Okay.
It has to be spent in the TIF district.
Okay.
It can only be spent in the TIF district.
Thank you.
You're going to go out, this application is very in-depth as well, the application that goes to the Department of Economic Development. Bond counsel, all the legal counsel, the revenue consultant, the underwriter / placement agent, the municipal advisor, all work together on putting the application together. I think, as long as you're, having these meetings with the developer and their team of legal and underwriter, placement agent, it's information gathering time. It's not a time to, you're considering all of this.
John Don's got another question.
Can a TIF district be more than one county?
I believe that's a legal question that I'm going to stay out of. Because that's a, can you elaborate a little bit more?
If they have discretion to spend money in the TIF district, but the TIF district goes outside the parameters of our county, that would be a
To
concern.
an adjacent county.
Okay.
Like, say a county that touches us.
Right.
Could Mineral, Morgan, Hardy, could those technically be considered one TIF district?
Do you want to hear my educated guess? I would say if you have an intergovernmental agreement among those counties, it's possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, why not work together? If this is, that way you generate economies of scale. And you spread the risk out.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents worth. But I don't know legally. I'd have to think common sense says you could, but you're going to have to obviously have, the developer has to agree to that, so you'll have that's another thing, you'll have a developer agreement, you'll have the intergovernmental agreement if it's more than one county. And so, when you do that, great, economies of scale, but you've got you have a lot of people working on it with a lot of opinions, and so it may slow things down as well. But I don't know.
I don't have anything further, sir. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got it in before 11:30.
Nice. Yep, happy to help, and my team would be happy to help you too.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Moving on, gentlemen.
Couple things. We got a bonding agreement with Lance in regard to the health department facility. And I had this is through CDBG process. I had the prosecutor review it. She said it looks good, so we're going to go ahead and record that. I just wanted you to know that that's happening. So that's the surety on the entire project. And one call your attention to the fact that we have, I have scheduled the public test for the upcoming election equipment to be on Friday, the 18th at 1 p.m. That's
Friday, the 18th at 1 p.m.
Yes.
Test of electric equipment. Thank you.
and I will be notifying the financial. Assessor Wagner asked to present y'all with potential dates for the Board of Equalization review hearings. They have to be no more than 4 days apart, and they have to start before February 1 and end before, well, you can sign it out as early as the 20th of February. We don't have to make a decision on those today, but she did ask that I present them, so we can get that started. You won't hear. I should bring something to play about. public test of election equipment will be on the 18th, it's Friday. Okay. Training that morning. Early voting starts on the 23rd here and in Kingston Bridge. Our new GS 200s have arrived, and they're being assembled as we speak. One thing I'd like to suggest, I'm thinking about taking out the back row on each side, or else 2 rows on one side, chairs. We can do some replacement.
You okay with it?
Anyway, they have room to store them. We won't trash the chairs. Just give us a little bit of space. They're rather bulky.
Go ahead and select them out.
I'm tired, man.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
So do you want to go ahead and set these dates?
Yeah, I'm okay with them.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
The other thing I had was the invoices.
I told him that I'm going to be communicating with you and John Todd.
Okay.
First thing in May.
Okay.
And he wanted to know if we using his team.
Okay.
I thought it would be good. But
Okay.
that'll be up to you guys.
Okay.
What do you got, the invoices? I've already went over them.
Invoices.
I'll move that the invoices presented since our last meeting be paid as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Excuse me. A motion and a second to approve the invoices as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
Gentlemen, I have nothing else.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second that we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned.